What I'm going to talk through now is just one strategy, and it takes that whole concept that I've just been talking about just a little step further. So this in itself is literally a grading strategy that you could apply. It's something that I've implemented previously, and don't pay too much attention to the numbers, please. It's just an example. But when you think about store grading, and by grading I mean, how you cluster your stores, your biggest turnover stores or your like stores based on certain demographics, there is an opportunity for you to maybe rethink that a little bit. And so I'll step you through that here, where you could say you've got your A, B, C, D, and E stores. Maybe your E stores are already a couple of outlet stores. I've just popped in some store counts there as illustrations. You could actually create 2 channels in your existing bricks and mortar network, a primary channel and an alternate channel, and then actually regrade your stores into those. So perhaps put your A, B, and C stores into your primary channel and your D and E stores into your alternate channel. So what would be the point of this? What it might allow you to do is to continue to exit your excess stock through a dedicated channel. So those less high profile stores, those stores that have always leaned a little bit more towards markdown activity, and you need to crunch your numbers and really analyze your stores to get this profiling right. But you could create an alternate bricks and mortar channel where you can continue to pump through your excess stock. Yes, it might be on markdown, or it might have a lot of promotion attached to it, but at least it can keep moving. And everything has its price. So yes, it might be out of season, but there could be people who would buy for next season, or I was going to say for travel, but I don't know that we've got travel for a while on the radar. Another reason for this is to reduce your risk. If you are only actually buying your new product for your best stores, your A, B, and C stores, for a short period of time, this is a temporary strategy, you reduce your risk because you're not needing to invest as much product as you ordinarily would, and you're only sending that product to the place where it has the best chance of success. In doing that, you're also conserving cash. So instead of having to spread your buy across your entire store network, you're actually concentrating your buy and where you need to invest new product into a smaller number of stores. What this also allows you to do is back your brand. So those A, B, and C stores can stay on brand, can keep moving forward with newness, while your D and E stores are handling the excess. And what that allows you to do is actually manage your message. So you can, and you would have tons of information to help support this, you can target your messaging to your customers according to demographics, according to how they've shopped before, so that the customers that are going to be likely to go after your new product get one message, and the customers that are your more discount shoppers would go with the other message. So you can actually speak to them quite individually and I guess have a little bit of the best of both worlds through this strategy. I have worked with a lot of businesses in my time, probably close on 100 between my working in my own business and through my career. And without fail, businesses tend to run a little bit overstocked. They tend to over assort when they put a range together. And so I really do think that there is something here that can help you just take the edge off a little bit and make cash go a little bit further. I'm going to just switch across very briefly now to Excel and walk you through a little example. I hope that you can see my screen, and if you can't, then Brad, please give me a little warning. But this is just to try and illustrate a little scenario building on that example that I've just stepped you through in the presentation. What I've got across the top here is those same store grades, A, B, C, D, E, and then those two channels that I've set up on the side, clustering your A, B, Cs and your D, Es. And what I've got down the bottom here is just some inputs. So for the purposes of this example, I've just said, let's say our retail price is $89. Let's say we work at a margin of 60%, our buying margin. So that gives us our cost price that we're going to work with in this calculation. So looking at this first little section here, I've just assumed a store count per grade. So what this pretty much means is that you've got 15 stores in your A grade grouping and 45 of your B grade grouping, 25 in your C stores and so on. So this totals up to 100 store network. And I've also, just for simplicity, assigned an average store turnover to each of the grades, just to help me build up the numbers quickly. And so you can see that your smaller stores or your less high profile stores would have lower turnovers. And so this is an example of a $75 million turnover business. I imagine there are all shapes and sizes of businesses dialed into this call. So don't get too hung up on the numbers. This is really just about illustrating this concept. Oh, and by the way, I do believe that AFC is going to make this spreadsheet available for you to have a little play if you want to. So that option will be offered later on in the call or through follow-up materials. So pretty much what we've got here is we've got our store grades then, and we've got our turnover that goes with them, and we can see approximately then how our sales are distributed across those grades. So if we go on to our next step, this row here is just assigning how many units we might buy per store in that grade. So this is saying 18 here. An A grade store would potentially get 18 units of something new that we're buying. So if we're buying them a scarf, we'd buy 18. Probably makes more sense across something that actually has a size curve to it, because then you would be buying your full size curve possibly twice over for those stores and then bulking up your most popular sizes. And then as we move down through the stores, through the different store grades, we would be buying less typically for those smaller stores or less fast turning stores. So pretty much what we get to then is if we multiply our store count by the number of units per store, then we can tell how many units we'd be buying in total. And multiplying that through by our cost price, we can get to what would be the cost of buying a new option into your A grade stores, one option in 1 month. And then taking that one step further, we can say, well, if we know that that would be our cost across each of our store grades to buy in a new option each month, then by multiplying that out with how many new options we might drop in, we can see what that's going to cost. So if we look across here, we could say to drop in 12 new options across all of those stores would cost $580,000. And if we split that into our two channels, we can see how that ratio sits. If we said we were going to run the strategy for 3 months, we would just be multiplying these numbers out by 3. And if I take you across here, by not pumping new stock into that D&E channel, like I was talking about before in that little illustration, you actually stand to save $200,000 in this example worth of investment, because you would be pumping your aged stock or your excess inventory through that channel instead. So your first step is a saving there of potentially $200,000 simply by focusing your investment to the stores where you are likely to get your best results. You know, there's the expression, give your best to your best. This is an example. If you tailored your buy to specifically those top stores and keeping your brand integrity switched on, you could save that stock investment. We can take it a little bit further and say, well, what if we changed the options per store? Instead of giving every store those new 12 options, what if we gave them less and less and less? So in other words, we sharpen up that assortment wedge. Well, again, you can see that there would be savings that come out of that scenario. We can play with these numbers. We can say, what if we had a 50% margin? Then you can see that your saving would be potentially higher. We can say, well, what if I actually introduce 15 new options each month? Well, then you potentially stand to save more. You could say, what if I only ran the strategy for 2 months? And then your numbers will adjust down. So like I say, it's just to put a dollar around around this initiative. I'm not saying you must do this. I'm saying it's an option in a time we don't have a lot of options. And this is just an example that illustrates the benefit that you might get from reassessing your grading. But this same principle would apply across your fringe sizes, fringe colors, fringe products, just making those choices and priorities within your range, making sure you tie that back really tightly to your strategy and why is that product being offered and how does it support your brand, making those calls and being a little bit erring on the side of caution, erring on the side of discipline. There is money that you can save by making some small tweaks. So I hope that wasn't too many numbers and didn't hurt your brains. And I hope it's helpful. Like I say, you should be able to get access to that spreadsheet to just model some things and play around for yourselves if you'd like.